Interior designers, are you setting up expectations properly for your design job, specifically install day? We all know what can go wrong, and we've all been through it. Today's guest, Bambi Bratton, walks us through her experience and gives us some advice. Stay tuned. Hey kids, and welcome to Designed by Wingnut Social. I'm your host, Darla Powell, interior decorator from Darla Powell Interiors in Miami, Florida, and the great grand high poobah of all things here at Wingnut Social, a digital marketing agency for you guys, interior designers, home pros, to the trade, vendors, marketing, interior design coaches, you name it. If it's in that milieu, if it's in that genre, if it's in that je ne sais quoi, we do it for interior designers, and we are the best, if I do say so myself. Just a reminder, we are filling up. We are at capacity for maybe one more full service done for you social media client and a couple of our hybrid plans. And if you don't know what the hybrid plan is, it's a terrific new program that's been super popular that we've introduced, where it's kind of half we do it for you, half you do it for you. It's a nice little sweet spot for newer interior designers who are overwhelmed, don't know what to post, how to post, have no strategy, but do have some elbow grease and some bandwidth and some time to implement what we create for you on social. So if you want to find out more about any of our marketing programs, social media or hybrid, full service, you name it, head on over to wingnutsocial.com and hit that little let's chat button, and we'll have a conversation. It's me you'll get. We'll talk. We'll have a conversation. All right, guys, that's it for today's shameless plug. Today's guest is Bambi A'Lynn Bratton. She's an interior designer who lives in Austin and works all over the great state of Texas. Bambi focuses on the residential market, helping homeowners turn dreams into reality. Bambi believes she has done her job when people say they'd rather be at home than anywhere else. I agree. That is a lovely sentiment. There's so much out there, she says. I work hard to make a variety of things work well to mix together. It would be a shame to be too limited in the spaces we create. I love that, Bambi. And guys, don't worry. This Bambi show is going to have a way happier ending than the other one. I kid, but true. It is a happy show. Wingnuts, help me in welcoming Bambi Bratton to the show. Hey there, Bambi Bratton. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. And you said this is your first one, your first podcast?
It is, yes.
Well,
first opportunity.
I'm very happy to be your first podcast opportunity. Congratulations. They're all downhill from here.
Oh, no. Hopefully not.
So Bambi, of course, I was telling the audience a little bit about you in the intro, but before we dig into how in the hell you do an installation without any hiccups, because I can't even imagine that's a thing. There must be some secret sauce in there. Just tell the audience a little bit more about you and about your firm, and we'll dig in.
So I started my own firm about 21 years ago. Can't believe it's been that long. I'm aging myself. I worked for a designer for 10 years before that, which I highly recommend working for somewhat of a sized firm before you go out on your own, just so that you can learn all the ins and outs of the business. I know some people just kind of go for it on their own, and I can't even imagine having done something like that. So about 16 years ago, I guess I'd had my business for 6 years. I met my husband. He's a custom home builder, and we met on a project. We like to say that we'd both been divorced for some time before we met each other. Didn't just run off with the contractor. And so we got married 2 years after we met, and we joined our businesses. We each still have our own separate businesses, but he usually includes me in his fee to help with all the selections when building a house. And then a lot of times that'll end up turning into my own client, and I help them with the furnishings and all of that part. But it took a good 5 years for us to work out the kinks. I mean, there's still kinks, but I felt like the first 5 years he was firing me or I was leaving. It was a lot of touch and go. We're
just
both,
on the business side, I hope.
Yeah, well, we're both very independent, and so once he realized just how independent I am, he things got a lot better. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good for you. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
yeah.
a marriage made in heaven, usually, right? Interior designer with building contractor.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
great now. I mean, we breathe our work. That can be like the one downside, but
Yeah.
like we just went to Paris and on an antique hunting trip, and
Wow.
I mean, David was completely enthralled with all of it. I mean, he thoroughly enjoyed it. And
Well, I would be too. Take me to Paris when you go next time. I want to go antique shopping in Paris. That must have been amazing. My goodness.
it was really fun. But most people's husbands all my girlfriends are like, "How in the world did you get him to do that?" I'm like, he loves that kind of thing. So.
How much was shipping back to the States for all the stuff you found?
Yet to be determined. My guide is going to let me know. I'm a little fearful.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah.
I can imagine some of the pieces. Okay. All right. So that is incredible. And congrats on your success in 21 years. That's you. You must have started when you were very young because you look incredibly young. And if you're not watching our design, I am. If you're not watching our Design by Wingnut Social channel on YouTube, head on over there so you can just see how good Bambi A'Lynn looks. And Bambi, you said in our pre-show interview notes, you were like, okay, how I can contribute to your show by telling interior designers how to have a hiccup-free install. And I got to be honest, I was an interior designer, had a firm in Miami, Florida, and even the ones that went smoothly were never hiccup free. They were always, there's always something, right, for install. So
you have to take it into perspective, like okay. What hiccup free. I mean, there's always going to be like a little something, but to me, I consider it a success if the client is thrilled, like super happy, all the furniture fits, like if something doesn't come in like on installation day, I don't really consider that a hiccup.
Oh, okay.
But if something didn't work in the space, that would be a huge hiccup.
That would be a huge hiccup. Okay. So what are we calling them then? So if those are hiccups, then we're saying those are guffaws.
Oh, yeah. I guess I need another word. I mean, as long as the client, expectations, managing expectations is huge. So as long as, client says, I'm having a party on this date, can we install before the party? I will say, okay, here are the things that we can install. Here are the things that you're not going to have until later. I mean, just managing expectations is a huge part of it.
Well, that is a huge part of it. So walk me through what that process looks like. How do you set up your clients for those expectations, and how do you gently let them down when you can't do it before the party? So
the first designer I worked for, the biggest tidbit he gave me is anticipate. You can never anticipate enough. And a lot of that comes from experience. The more experience you've had, the more hiccups you've had, the more things that you have in your back pocket to try to work around and ensure that you don't make that hiccup again. And so I guess when you've made so many of them, I mean, but still I learn something new every day. There's always something new. But I would say as far as managing expectations, just from the very beginning, being as open and transparent, so you can help build that trust. And the trust goes on both sides. I mean, trust from the client to me and my trusting them. I feel like that's one of the biggest keys to a successful relationship between the designer and the client. And so from there, and a part of that is just being upfront from the beginning, this sofa that you're going to order is going to take 40 weeks or however long it's going to take. Don't sit there and say, oh, we can get that in 12 weeks. Would you know fully it's going to take 4 weeks to get the fabric there. And then from there, it's going to take however much time. And then the shipping time. I mean, and I've just been doing it so long, I know to add all three of those things into the equation instead of just saying, oh, the company says it's going to take 12 weeks. You're going to have it in 12 weeks. I mean, that's not the reality.
As designers, to get everything to fall into place correctly in an ideal way, understanding there might be a couple little things here and there, like you said, it's kind of hard not to have a couple of little tiny things go wrong. What kind of systems and processes do you have in place to make sure logistically that everything comes in together beautifully for install day? Because the interior design business is incredibly complicated to keep all these moving parts organized and to keep those clients happy, to set those expectations. So you've been in business for 21 years. We might have some designers who are just starting or been in business a couple of years. What have you winnowed down to your streamlining process for that would help? Yeah.
Like the first step is a furniture plan. And that usually consists of doing like some sketches. The home might already have a plan that you can go off of, and if not, then I'll physically go in and measure the room with my assistant and come up with my own floor plan. And then I usually do like several renditions, different options for a furniture plan. If the client has existing pieces they want to use in that plan, measuring those pieces and working them in. Then from the furniture plan, I create a budget. I usually do 3 different budgets, a high, a medium, a low, because you never know. I think I may have had one client in all my years actually give me, this is what I have to spend. And
I know
what
it's
I would
hard.
like to, they won't give you, like, I'm always like, is there a number? But always when I give them the budget, it's not that number. I mean, it's just part of it. Yeah. So that's why I do 3 to see where they're comfortable. And then from there, I know kind of which direction to go fabric and furniture wise. Then from there, like some clients want to go shopping with me. Some want me to bring the things to them. So however they want to work that, I'm comfortable doing it both ways. I mean, some people can't foresee ordering a sofa without sitting in it, seeing how it feels. If the client is that client, I definitely prefer them going with me and sitting in things so that just as little surprise as possible is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good point because if you order it a sight unseen or a butt unseen,
and then they don't like it. They're like, oh, I don't like firm sofas. This is firm, or or the opposite. This is too cushy, or
So what would you tell an interior designer who just hates shopping with their clients? Just there's a whole bunch. We could unpack that for hours, but as far as
because there are some that they don't have the time, they don't enjoy shopping. Well, definitely getting a sense for what. Like usually they have their existing furniture. Like, how do you like the way this sits? What do you like about this piece? What do you not like about this piece? Just to get a feel for like depths, sofa depths and cushions and tight back or loose cushion.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Do you have anything on your contract or your agreement in writing that's if they do buy something sight unseen, or you're just like, hey, take it from me. I sat in it at High Point. It's great. And once they get it, that they're like, oh, I don't know. This feels like there's a pea under the cushion. That's too bad. So sad. What would you do if you're like, I know I approved this and we ordered it and it's here and installation day, but on second thought.
I mean, it's a wood table and I'm knocking on it. I have never had to eat anything. I mean,
great.
I will do whatever I have to make it survive. I mean, if I have to restuff cushions and I buy antique furniture for clients all the time. I mean, I go to Round Top. I've been going to Round Top for 20 years. I go to every spring and summer show. I send pictures. I try to send really detailed pictures, showing just how much of an antique it is. It has this crack. It has, this part, this piece is missing, whatever.
Setting expectations again.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think like one of my very first clients that I bought something from Round Top. I mean, this was a learning experience. Like, we get in there and she's like, there's a big crack all the way down the side. And I'm like, it's an antique. But I learned, okay, make sure that you disclose all cracks.
Right.
So, yeah.
But do you have something in there that, once it's installed, then barring, which of course you're checking, I'm sure anyway, or your shipping receiver is, barring any kind of damage or anything that's that. And that would be mitigated by shopping with clients. So what I'm trying to get at is the interior designer out there is like, oh, I hate shopping with clients. I refuse to shop with clients where it might be worth it. You might be saying, on second thought.
Yeah. Well, just that, I mean, yes, it's in there that it's anything that's custom. I mean, just in the design world, nothing is returnable unless I buy it from a retail shop like Serena and Lily or Restoration Hardware, anything. Like it's not returnable. So
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah,
So if you want to be
definitely.
100% sure, put their butts in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
or do the other thing.
If
So
you're
it sounds
concerned at all, yes.
a
Yeah.
lot of logistics to go into that, to go shopping with the clients, a lot of time spent, a lot of time you sitting in it yourself maybe, or taking the photography. Are you charging a flat rate? Are you charging hourly? How are you working that into your logistics and making sure that these expectations are set?
So I charge an hourly fee for all selections. Once the selections are set, then the only hourly fees are if I'm meeting with the client. All of the time spent with the workrooms or in the ordering process and getting things to the receiver is all taken care of by the markup, and I charge a 25% markup. So I try to make that, I mean, that's in my contract. Like,
Sure.
just very clear that there's not a design fee. I'm not charging hourly for all of the time. I mean, because the time between the selections and getting the pieces in the home, it's a lot. I mean, just all the tracking and making sure that the fabric gets to the backer, and then from the backer to the upholsterer, and then that it gets shipped out and gets to the receiver and comes in okay. It's a long process.
All right, you guys know, or at least I hope you know, or if you don't, I'm not doing my job, that we do full service social media management for you guys, interior designers, architects, and to the trade vendors or furnishing manufacturers, etc. But we are excited to announce our very new hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. It's kind of a half done for you, half you do it yourself sweet spot. If you're a beginning designer or a firm who's just really kind of getting started in social media marketing, but don't quite have the marketing budget to delegate it to a marketing firm, because that's a pretty decent size investment, right? This is our hybrid solution, and it's perfect for busy designers who the power of consistent professional content on Instagram. You've heard guest after guest and client after client say how they're getting leads from Instagram, right? But you have that overwhelm. You have no idea what to post, when to post, what the hashtags and captions should look like for a value proposition, a mix in order to reach your ideal client. Well, ta-da! Introducing the hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. You get a monthly content calendar where we create the content for you, and you post at your leisure on your own time with our guidance. We're doing the posts, we're doing feed posts, we're editing reels for you. You get 8 feed posts, 2 reels. We're writing the captions for you. We are researching the hashtags for you that drive engagement with guidance, best practices, and quarterly strategy sessions to make sure that your strategy and everything is in alignment with your business goals. So if you want to find out some more information on our amazing hybrid plan, it's been very popular so far. Head on over to wingnutsocial.com and hit up that Let's Chat button, and let's see how we can work together. Again, that's wingnutsocial.com. Yeah, it's definitely a long process. So, okay. So, you know what I do kind of like, but I have a question about this too, is you do the good, better, best for a furnishings plan to really just get them to dial in their budget and have the reality of this is what you can get for X amount of dollars.
Exactly.
When you're charging for your design time for that, for doing the furnishings plan, is that extra amount of work to do 3 different budgets? Is that covered by what you're charging for that as well? Is that baked in? Versus versus just saying, hey, I'm going to imagine this is going to be a $50,000 room. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, that's your budget. You know what I mean?
I mean, I try to, going into it, try to give clients kind of a round figure of about how much the design fee will be, depending on how many rooms it is, how elaborate, and again, just from experience, I'm able to, I'll look at a similar project and how many hours I spent on that project to kind of come up with a round figure. But I do charge for all that time to put all of the different plans together. Yeah.
Because I remember when I was doing design, I mean, I was a little shy about telling people or asking people what their budget is, because they're so reluctant to tell you. I think they're afraid that if they tell you 100,000, you're going to pull it all and then some, right? You're not going to be fair with them. I think there's
I agree with you. I mean, it happens with David in the building business too.
Does it really?
They'll never tell him how much they want to spend to build a house.
So I like that idea. If that's, and then as long as you're making the same margin on each of those and that your design fees are the same, then it's no skin off. Just do. Yeah, I like that. I really think that's a good solution. Okay, so your client has expectations set. They know the furniture they want to sit in. They know the antiques have cracks in it. So when we're getting to the install day, scheduling, any subs that need to be there on that day, your team that needs to be there on that day, the deliveries, I'm assuming, are coming on that day from the warehouse, and getting all of that together. Is that something you're doing? Do you have a project manager for that?
I have an assistant, and what I do from the budget that we end up working off of and ordering off of, I then create a spreadsheet, and my assistant really helps with the spreadsheet. And in the spreadsheet, is a column for everything. Fabric has been ordered, like the purchase order number, fabric shipped. It got to the furniture upholsterer on this date. And then, so I can like track out, the full timeline for everything. And I'm constantly looking at that spreadsheet to see, and even, the installation can be a month out, and I'll look at the spreadsheet and be like, oh, where's that lamp? But if I didn't have the spreadsheet, I would be completely, and even still, even with the spreadsheet and knowing it's all on paper, I still am never able to get it out of my head. It's always floating in my head. Like, what about this? And then I go look at,
It's a lot of the logistics behind it. Like, again, seriously, it's the most complicated business. Okay, so...
And then, as far as the installation, I try to have it occur over, 3 days. Like, I feel like when things kind of go in gradually, then... Because there's always this, shock factor from the client. Like, oh, my gosh, that thing is, it's an empty space, and it goes from empty to being filled. And to just kind of help mitigate... Oh my gosh, that piece of furniture is too big. The rugs go in and the draperies go in on one day, and then bring in the furniture, and just kind of slowly. Yeah.
I love that.
It either works that way, or the client is completely gone, and they want the big
Even
reveal, and you get it all done, and then they're not there to see me trying to pull that drapery down so that it hits the floor or whatever, I really prefer if they're not there.
Yeah, the same. So when I had my design firm, we usually tried to do it in 1 or 2 days. And I remember that being incredibly stressful. And I love that you give yourself a little bit of breathing room and maybe an extra day or two for that fabric to arrive, or for that accessory, or to style it. I love that, because it's a little less stressful. 3 days, depending on the size of the project, can still be pretty tight, but that's terrific. Are you styling as well with accessories? Do you have a pre-purchase, are you doing an accessory plan, or are you just styling, saying, hey, whatever you like, you can purchase if you like it?
I like to use the client's own things. This kind of goes to, I know there was one question about the soul of the home, and to me, something that really brings a home soul is bringing in things that clients have collected on trips, like artwork. And I feel like a home looks much more lived in and comfortable when it's at least some of their own things. I usually have to buy things to fill in. But otherwise it can just look like a showroom if all the accessories are new and, and perfectly placed. So, but I do, when I get done with all the furniture, then I'll ask them to pull out. I'll set another day, a week later, pull all your things out, and then I'll come and do the bookshelves and coffee tables and place things around. So, yeah.
And when are you photographing the projects? Are you photographing it after
as
install?
Soon as possible, before it gets ruined.
Or before that you can't get a hold of them anymore.
Right. Well, thankfully, most of my clients turn into my friends, so I don't really have that issue. It's more of, oh my gosh, that dog is just going to drool all over that piece and it's going to be ruined. Or whatever. Or the kids are going to jump on it and it's going to come unstitched, or whatever's going to happen. Yeah.
I saw on one of the interior design Facebook groups, might have been a week or two ago, there was an interior designer who, in her agreement, she has, at the end of the project, we're going to photograph it, yada, yada, yada. And then the client said, changed their mind at the end of the project and said, you know what? On second thought, no, I really don't want you to photograph it. Have you ever had that issue?
No.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I have a current client that doesn't want doesn't want their name and doesn't want the city disclosed, which is
reasonable.
I was able to get it photographed. Whether I'll be able to get it published or not is to be seen. Probably not, because all these magazines want that information. But you know what? I mean, I can still put it on Instagram. It's on my website. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to happen, especially if you have clients that have lean towards being kind of an NDA kind of client, that are a little bit, exactly. So what do you, in your 21 years of expertise and experience here, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you have made that you could warn interior designers not to do when it comes to install day?
I mean, I've never had, like, always my biggest fear is, did I measure that space right, and that sofa or that console is not going to fit? That's always what, like, my biggest fear. But honestly, I've never had it happen. I mean, I will be like the night before going back and looking at the order and looking at the furniture plan to make sure I ordered the right thing. I mean, it's so crazy, like, what your mind will do.
Measure twice, cut once.
Right. But I'm like, maybe somewhere early on that did happen, because it's such a fear. Like, that it's baked in. You're like afraid to never do it. I luckily, I've never really had any big issues with install day. I've had other issues, but not with install day. Usually they're usually worked out by then. So we mentioned setting up the client expectations. They're not going to have their kitchen by Thanksgiving. They're not going to have their living room by the party, or they might, but they might be missing these couple of pieces. Yeah.
So, so at least they know, they understand what's happening, but not doing that last minute, right? Doing that right as soon as you have to do it
all along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, because otherwise, I mean, it's just, I mean, even when I'm doing it all along the way, it still can create disappointment, but just as little disappointment as possible. I mean, like, if I order something and I find out that the fabric is back ordered for 3 months, I mean, I tell them right on the spot, and I tell them, like, I would rather you stick with the fabric and wait it out, because we've worked around it or whatever, but it's up to you. Like if you're like, no, I don't want to wait the extra 3 months, then I'll find something else.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
And when you said before too, that ideally during an install, the clients or the homeowners would maybe be somewhere else.
Yes.
What's your trick for making that happen?
Like, well, one client, I gave her a spa day.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I know. Well, she was pregnant, so that, that can just make someone extra anxious. And I mean, like, pregnant and like having her baby like within a month or two. So I sent her to the spa.
That's brilliant.
Sometimes I try to work it around, like, if a client's going to be on a trip, like work the installation around that trip.
Suppose if you had a family, you could get them like tickets to Topgolf or
yeah, that's true. It's just when the client's like standing around watching, it's a little unnerving. Like,
it's not good for anybody. It's like when you're a realtor and you're showing a house, you don't want the client there either, right?
Yeah.
You don't want, for sure.
Yeah.
So what other germs of wisdom can you impart to our audience who just want some more of your expertise on creating a smooth install day? And then we will get into the fire round.
I would say just like creating relationships with the different workrooms, the different showrooms, so you know how they work. Just when I'm working with workrooms, like my drapery workroom I've worked with for 20 years, my upholstery workroom I've worked with for 20 years, just developing that relationship so they know what you expect of them. Because like if I have a project in Aspen, then I'm having to work with a different drapery workroom, and they don't know like what I'm expecting. And for me to like come up with all of that can be hard. And so, they'll make something, I'll be like, oh, this isn't, I take for granted what my workroom here does. But so just developing those relationships. And then within the showrooms, like the showrooms that I've worked with for a while, and I've worked with a specific salesperson, like just the way they respond is much better than a showroom that I haven't worked with and a salesperson that I haven't worked with. Right. I mean, because the response time in the showrooms can be that can be unnerving. That will drive me crazy. I'm like, I want an answer now.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, because not only do you have to set expectations to the clients, but you kind of have to set or know the expectations from the people you're sourcing from your vendors or your workrooms. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And know what it is like to work with them and build that relationship. So maybe you're super nice, you're super consistent with them, and they put you to the front of the line.
I will say nice goes a long way.
Nice goes a long way. Bambi Bratton, thank you so much for your expertise. Now I have to ask you, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut round?
I'm ready.
What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
All things lovely.
That is lovely. You're stuck on a deserted island, but you can have your one favorite food. What is it?
Chocolate. Chocolate anything.
Excellent choice. You could use chocolate and cover like the pineapples and the coconut with it. That's great.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Because I was like, I'm going to die eating chocolate.
Please recommend a book that's impacted you either personally or professionally.
This is from my childhood, but A Little Princess. And the reason, well, there's like so much about that book, but really it was very descriptive. Like Sarah's little doll, Emily, talked about all of her outfits and like the ermine and the sable. And I just remember like reading that, and I could perfectly picture all those outfits. I really had an affinity for fashion before I got into interior design, and they really are very intertwined. And then in the book, Sarah, ends up in the attic with Becky, and the Indian gentleman across the way, like overnight, like decorates their room. And I could just remember, again, the book was so descriptive with the cushions and the fire and the yummy treats and the cozy robes and the draperies. And anyway, I love that.
And the
book.
rest was history. Look at you now.
Exactly.
Isn't that funny how big of an impact things like that make on us?
I know.
For our
So I
lives?
give that book to all my friends' daughters. I love that book.
That's so sweet. What was the name of it again?
A Little Princess by, I pulled it out, Frances Hodgson Burnett.
Awesome. So if you have little kids out there who you want to become interior designers or maybe even fashion designers, there you go. A Little Princess.
Yes, definitely.
Bambi Bratton, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell the Wingnuts where they can go to find out more about you and your firm, and we'll call it a day.
BambiA'Lynn.com. And then my husband's firm is Watermark Homes by David Bratton. His website is davidbrattoncustomhomes.com. And then on Instagram at Bambi A'Lynn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bambi.
Thank you.
All right, kids, that is it for today's episode. If you have any questions for Bambi, or if you want to go pick her lane, go pick her lane. Pick your lane and pick her brain. Head on over to Bambi A'Lynn. That's BAMBIA, as in the letter A, LYNN. Go give her a follow over there on Instagram and give her a DM, and, just flood her with DMs with questions. I'm sure she'll be happy about that. Thanks for being a guest on the show again today, Bambi. And remember, if you need help with marketing your interior design firm on social media, and not just, hey, here's a picture, let's post it up for you, we're done for the day, but a real marketing strategy that gets results, grows your brand reach, your awareness, and gets you real results, head on over to wingnutsocial.com and click that Let's Chat. Let's see how we can work together. All right, guys, until next time, remember to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great.